Hello, welcome to Cable's Conquests. I'm your host, Archie Cable, and we're here to talk about Marvel Crisis Protocol.
The name's Cable. Remember it.
Hello, welcome back to Cable's Conquests and Happy New Year, Happy 2024. I hope all you listeners had a great festive season and I hope you all got some new MCP goodies to be parading around your local stores. Today we're going to be talking about the first event of the year, or the first local event of the year. It's Crisis in Ragnarok, and we may see some new MCP goodies that we got for Christmas. Joining me today is once again the trusty Curtis Hodgson. Curtis, how's it going?
Hey Archie, yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm very excited for 2024 MCP season to kick off. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Crisis in Ragnarok?
Yeah, so Crisis in Ragnarok, it's in Gillingham. It's at a shop called Ragnarok Hobbies. It's as you walk down the Gillingham High Street, there's a little inconspicuous door that you go up, then 2 flights of stairs, and it's this great hobby space where there are just tables, there's toy soldiers on the walls. It looks like a passion project that probably more online orders, but desperate to get games in. First time I've ever been. I had nothing to do first weekend, and a couple of our London lot were heading down, and I managed to jump into the car with Dr. Norbert, and we went down, and it was great fun.
Excellent. And how many players were there? So I know there were a lot that went from London. How many players in total?
I think there was 18 players in total, but I recognised probably 15 of those.
Nice.
Not necessarily all from the London scene, but lots that are attending London events at least. But yeah, lots of the London scene, which is a Shark Tank.
Yeah, awesome. And it was 4 rounds, Swiss format, challenger event. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, fairly standard event. Yeah, nothing too crazy.
Nice and simple to kick off the 2024 season.
Absolutely. And like you said, we all got new toys for Christmas. I desperately was wanting to get some of them on the table. I managed to paint 2 of them up and get them into my roster. So yeah, it was fun to play with them for the first time.
Excellent. Well, we'll hear all about it in the roster building section.
You're boring me. If you want to help me nail them, get your team together and let's get started.
Okay, Curtis, what are you taking to Gillingham?
So I am taking Brotherhood of Mutants. As you would have remembered from the last podcast, I was running Hellfire Club with a Magneto pivot, and the game I had with Magneto didn't go very well. So I figured, how do you solve that? You play lots of Magneto, you get good at it. So I'm taking pure Brotherhood, no temptation from Hellfire Club. So starting from the top, I've got Magneto, of course. I'm bringing Mystique as well, because not only is she a great leader as well, if you wanted to pivot into her, but she's a handy tool. Deception is excellent, even with Magneto. I'm also bringing Pyro, Sabretooth Apex Predator, the Blob, Toad, Rogue, Juggernaut, Captain America Sam Wilson, and Cable.
Nice, getting the namesake in.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'd chosen 9 characters, and I thought, well, who's going to be the 10th? It had to be our trusty Cable.
And what about team tactics cards and crises?
Team tactics cards, these are, I think you're going to be familiar with most of these. Asteroid M, Deception, Magnetic Refraction, Exceptional Healing for Sabretooth, Pyrotechnics, which is staple to Pyro. Do You Know Who I Am? Comes with Juggernaut, Recalibration Matrix, Patch Up, Warpath, and Fallback.
And crises?
And crises. So I've gone for my secures. I've gone Gamma Wave Sweeps Across Midwest. Mayor Fisk vows to find missing witnesses. Intrusions open across city as seals collapse. And my extracts are Research Station attacked, Mutant extremists target US senators, and Skrulls infiltrate world leadership.
Excellent. Well, I think from your crises and obviously from your character composition, we can tell what you're going with. So it's Brotherhood of Mutants, and I'm guessing it's Magneto focused based on those crises.
Largely Magneto focused. Magneto is who I want the training with. So yes, I've definitely, the secures in my head are all fighty secures. They're E-maps. Gamma's an E-map, of course, which so down the middle fighting. Mayor Fisk is those 2 points, so everyone seems to bunch up onto those, and quite often they can end up getting moved closer to each other. And Intrusions often has fighting along the middle on that C map where people are popping up all over the place. So yes, I'm thinking about Magneto.
So other than the fact that you messed up with Magneto, before we go into the detail of the game plan, why do you like Brotherhood of Mutants?
I love mutants. I'm a huge X-Men fan, and these are the baddies. And I figured, having sort of moved from X-Men to Hellfire Club and then playing a lot of Brotherhood characters in that, I thought, why not? Like, I was getting more of the characters painted up, and they're actually lots and lots of fun. Magneto's leadership, as most people will know, as you destroy terrain, you can distribute power amongst your team for that size of terrain, which is great for getting a lot of those sort of turn one superpowers online. Anyone who loves to use power, characters like Sabretooth, Juggernaut, Magneto and co will feed them with power, making them more and more effective. And Magneto himself is a ton of fun. He just sits on a point, and if you come close to him, it's a real death ball. His attack gets rerolls when you're close to him, but even when you're further away from him, he's got such a threat because he's got a long throw for terrain. So yeah, it's been a ton of fun when I played it. I've not had very much success leading up to this, hence why I need the practice.
Yeah, I mean, throwing terrain is so key to MCP, so going Brotherhood's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about the game plan. You were kind of getting into it before. What's the game plan about?
So the way I see Brotherhood is that Magneto is your attrition piece. Because you can build lots of power very quickly, and you can use that, and he's quite good at killing. And there's lots of other characters within Brotherhood who would benefit from his leadership that make them better at fighting. Puts their throws online, puts their superpowers that make them killier online. So largely, I want people close up. I want people fighting on Magneto. But the issue with Magneto is I actually don't think it's as good as other attrition lists out there at the minute. I think when you look at the meta, you think about your Cosmic Ghost Riders, your previously Malekith Cabal, Guardians, anything, and the new Defenders as well. They're all really, really fighty, and I think they're probably edge Brotherhood on fighty. But where I think Brotherhood is a really interesting against those is that whereas a lot of those rosters are all eggs in one basket, Magneto still brings quite a lot of control. You can be smart with his builder. Yes, if you're close by, he gets rerolls, but if you're outside of 2 but in 3, you get the pushes. You can either use that push to suck someone into that death trap, or you can use them to push them away and make them less threatening.
Yeah, because it's an any direction push, right?
Well, I learned that. Yeah, I learned that last at the end of last year, and any direction push. So yeah, you can be quite cute with that. Also, just having that variable terrain throw is really, really quite a control piece. It will always be in people's minds, thinking about the terrain. Also, he uses lots of the terrain, so people lose their cover and stuff. But it makes people think about where they're positioning, timing that they go. So there's a lot of control there that other attrition rosters don't bring.
Yeah, and how were the boards at Ragnarok Hobbies, given you're playing Brotherhood?
I was quite pleased. When I walked into the room, I was very pleased. I would say it was fairly standard, straight out of the rule book in terms of terrain on the table, what you'd expect, couple of 4s, couple of 3s, bunch of 2s, and a few 1s. But none of them were sparse, and some of them were actually really beautiful. Grant from the Throwing Dice podcast, he often brings terrain down to the BMC tournaments. I think it's his local shop, and it was his terrain on a lot of the tables, and it's fantastic. It's really, really nice to play on. Really, really well painted up. Some really nice themey boards as well. There's like a desert themed one, then there's like a rundown town one as well, and like a Weapon X facility one. I was really, really pleased to be playing on them. You know me, it's all about the immersion.
Yeah. So clearly you're going Magneto focused, but you also have Mystique. When does Mystique's leadership come into play? When in the game plan?
So you'll have noticed I've got Skrulls and Senators in there. So Senators is a really interesting one because it's 6. It's like the highest number of extracts on the table, but it's not one that a lot of the extract teams particularly like, because each senator limits characters to just one move. So it often means characters can't safely pick up that extract and move away. They've already moved to pick it up. They then can't that turn, move to safety. So it brings a lot of models turn 1 into the middle of the table, makes them vulnerable. And that actually makes it a bit more of a fighty extract scenario. Mystique loves it because her leadership allows you to refund the power that you spend picking up that extract, which means your characters can go pick up one of the 6. You'll probably get 3 of them if it's an exchange.
Mhm.
You'll refund that power, and that can mean to a lot of characters in the roster that can turn on some really good superpowers come turn 2.
Yeah.
It means charges are online when normally in an extract game they're not, because you've spent the power to interact. It means that the likes of Juggernaut, he moves, gains 2 power, picks up the extract, but then gets it refunded. He can then, nothing stops the Juggernaut and push himself away from
Yeah.
senators. It's a safe grab with him, and characters like Hulk, although I didn't bring him, he's another one that likes that. And I think generally across the board, there's a lot of decent fighters. So even if you were to go wide on the Mystique, so something like Senators or Skrulls, where there's 4 sort of on that center line, where you might get sort of displaced or moved out of action, I think they really play into Mystique's leadership. So that whereas something often you can get caught with Magneto playing on a table that's slightly too wide for him because his mobility is just dreadful, and he takes up 6 threat as well. So you're rarely going wide with him. So having that option to go bring a 3 threat leader, lots of other toys, and actually go toe to toe with some of the more object focused teams is a really great option to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Nice to have that pivot, and in doing so, you've got 8 characters that are Brotherhood affiliated. That's pretty much all the Brotherhood ones. Sabretooth and Emma Frost, I think, are the only 2 missing.
Yeah, Sabretooth, Emma Frost, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch.
Ah, yeah, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, of course.
Yeah. And actually, Quicksilver, I wanted in the roster, but he wasn't painted in time. He was another toy I got for Christmas. Didn't get him painted in time. So Sam Wilson, essentially, I was like, what long mover do I have painted? Essentially, I'm thinking about that Mystique game and Sam Wilson.
Yeah, so that answers my first question, why Sam Wilson? My second question is, why Cable? Why the second splash? Other than, obviously, it's funny for the podcast.
Yeah. So my thinking behind Cable was, well, it was, in hindsight, it wasn't very good thinking. But I was like, right, I think Brotherhood could go fully affiliated, and you could do well. Like a good player could do. They got some really great characters, and one character who works in a in a tall fighting Magneto list is Scarlet Witch. Another one haven't got painted up. She is a 5 threat with decent sort of range threat and a terrain throw. God, that sounds fairly familiar. To me, that sounded a lot like Cable. And since he's had his bit of a glow up, he's a really decent character, even to splash. I think the rerolls on his attacks means that even if he's even range 3 is not is nothing to ignore. Getting his rerolls with potential incinerates is super handy. The fact as well, he can then help your other characters by giving them extra dice in defense is really, really great.
Magneto can suddenly have 8 dice in defense.
Yeah, absolutely, which is nuts, isn't it? Especially when then you can't be then thrown or pushed. Suddenly Magneto becomes a real tank. And also because of Magneto's leadership, his variable throw, which is you pay X amount to throw X size terrain, is nice. You can only do it once in a turn, unlike Magneto, but it nicely synergizes with that leadership to give other people power. And likewise, he's got lots of, he wants to be spending his power in his activation and out of his activation. So being able to fuel him up throughout the turn with the leadership, I thought it would be, he sounded on paper really synergistic. Synergistic, is that the right word? Is that a real word?
Synergistic, I think is the right word.
Yeah, cool. Cheers.
Awesome. Well, you've got a lot of theory. Let's see how it goes in practice.
We're not retreating. It's victory or death.
So game 1, first competitive game of 2024. Who do you see across the table?
Across the table, I see Andrew. And I've never met Andrew before. He was one of the faces that I didn't recognise. And he is running OG Red Skull.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, which I did not expect to see, especially because the rest of his roster had lots of very new toys in it. He had things like the new Ultron, he had the new Bucky, he had Hela, of course, has had a bit of a glow up, but it was all under OG Red Skull's leadership.
Excellent. So, Cabal, presumably, what crises do you draw?
So we roll, I think he wins priority, and we draw. Infinity Formula goes missing. He's obviously gone with his secures because this is MCP, and that's what people with priority do.
Mhm.
And with my extracts, we get Research Station.
Ooh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's quite a wide secure with the B map. There's 4 in the corners, but the extract is not something you can pick up, and it's just essentially something bang in the middle.
Nice. So, what's the team? What's your team like, first of all?
So I go 17 threat, and it was one of these where I originally went 15 threat, and someone on the table next to me said, "Oh, is it okay if I change to 17 threat?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to do the same as well if that's okay." And he was more than happy, and it's because this is the roster I wanted to go with. So I brought Magneto,
Mm-hmm.
Juggernaut, Mystique, and Pyro.
4 wide, and
Yep.
he goes with
Red Skull, of course.
Mhm.
New Ultron, new Bucky, and new Hela. Well, I
interesting.
say new Hela, the glow up Hela, but yeah, Hela.
So
So
he
we're
also,
both 4 wide.
yeah, both 4
Yeah.
wide. Though technically he's 5 wide because of the drones.
He's got the drones, yeah. But interestingly, the Ultron drones seem to be the only drones that don't interact with anything
Yeah.
that
So
scores.
they just sit and shoot stuff.
They are bombs, yes.
Be a little nuisance.
People love to just put them near all your models and then beam into them and then see them blow up in your face.
Cool. So how does turn 1 play, or how does deployment and turn 1 play out?
So deployment is fairly straightforward. I think we both sort of go down the middle. I don't think neither of us really want to give too much away.
Yeah.
But turn 1 for me, it starts with Pyro goes down the left. I figured I'm going to, even though I want him incinerating models, I'm gonna need to score points. And there's 4 secures on the corner, so he goes to one of those.
Mhm.
Mystique goes to the other one on the right. So they're my sort of range pieces. They're with the longer attacks.
Mhm.
I've positioned them in the wings. Juggernaut jumps down the middle,
Mhm.
just double moves, which is nice. He's got 3 power on him, which is lovely because he's now an opportunity to Asteroid M Magneto into the death pit. But obviously, Magneto is my last activation. This is my setup, and at this point, I think Red Skull has moved onto the secure opposite Mystique on that side. Bucky has done exactly the same as well because he wants to get off the is it Soldat activated?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be more familiar with that than me. It was something about getting cover and extra power and
Cover
stuff.
and you can shoot back, and yeah, it's all
Right.
juicy stuff.
Juicy stuff where they benefit from being next to each other, so they're on the same point. Hela comes onto that point, but slightly and more aggressively, which allows Mystique to deception her out, and I get a couple of shots off with her.
Mhm.
But actually, and this is where I'm learning, where at sometimes deception you save it. I'm always thinking get these cards on the table as quickly as possible because with my pistols with Mystique, I do like 2 damage, which is fine.
Yeah,
I'm not
not bad.
unhappy with that. But then I'm thinking, oh, Magneto is going to come into the middle and he's going to finish them off.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen because people think about this now. People are thinking about deception, and Red Skull can teleport characters, so he can give himself more power, and he rolls no skulls, so it's almost like free power. And then with that power, he teleports Hela back to safety.
I see. Okay.
So it's nice that he's had to spend that, but it feels like a superpower for a card is a trade-off that's gone in his favor.
Yeah.
Especially because that power that he spent on it was essentially free.
Mhm.
Magneto then pops up into the middle, and he I think he dishes out some hurt. Yeah, but all of his characters seem to be bunched up on this one secure, leaving his other one, whereas I've got both of mine, and now I've got Magneto and Juggernaut in the middle.
Mhm.
Ultron activates last in the turn,
Mhm.
sends his bots up, puts them into sort of danger zone, ready to be blown up from someone shooting into them or knocking into them. And Ultron must have tried to pump attacks into Juggernaut because obviously we're both 4 wide and he's got priority. So Magneto's gone last, I think. And I think Magneto spends the activation blowing up the Ultron bots.
Mhm.
/ putting a shot into Hela, but I don't think he does very much other than he does destroy the Ultron bots. Because essentially I'm nervous at some point they're gonna, because what I found is they're gonna blow up. They're either gonna blow up or they're gonna get 2 attacks off, which, if you throw enough dice, everyone's seen a 4 dice rapid fire from Mystique pop off, and
Yeah.
that's why I always feel like these drone bots have the ability for. But other than that, I don't think anything major happens.
So how does the turn 1 end?
So it ends with me scoring 2 secures
Mhm.
and Andrew scoring 1, and I also get the middle. So at this point, I'm 4-1 up. I'm,
Nice.
I'm feeling good. And the best thing about Researcher is that you get to move it when you're the one scoring it. So what do? I start moving it back. You do get more points if you move it forward, but I think that's a bit of a trap. I don't want to move to where
Yeah.
all his juicy bits are and then hand him the points. In my head, I'm thinking, let's get it back to Pyro, who, even though he's not doing his incinerate shenanigans,
Mhm.
he's inviting them towards him so then he can incinerate them maybe later. But also, at some point, he can then sit on that back secure and the extract and score 3 points a
Yeah.
turn. And if they want to come deal with him, they can do.
Yeah.
So it goes in that direction.
So how does turn 2 play out then?
He's still got priority, and Ultron goes first.
Mhm.
Classic. He's gone last, and now he goes first. And lo and behold, Magneto gets dazed. There's just so much Ultron does in that turn, even without the bots.
Mhm.
There's like a size 4 piece of terrain in the middle of the table. Ultron himself has, great ways to spend and build his power with his attacks, and yet Magneto just doesn't have the. I think I keep putting his big boy pants on, rolling the 6 dice, and I'm getting like 1 block,
Yeah.
and it's not enough, and Magneto goes down.
Only 6 health, you'd
Yeah.
expect that.
On a 6 threat piece.
And Ultron's got the big 4 size 4 terrain, which you would have wanted.
Yeah, I think I would have rather have got that first.
Mhm.
I think it gave Juggernaut cover in that turn 1 against Ultron.
Yeah.
So I sort of maybe left it there longer than I should have, and I should have been the one. I should have been the one to throw it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Magneto goes down. I'm miffed that I've lost an activation with Magneto.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world as long as I don't, as long as I'm smart about this. I've then got priority.
Mhm.
Pyro moves on to the Researcher. So I make the decision, right, I'll stop scoring 1 point on that back secure, and I'd rather score 2 points, even though I'm not in range of them both yet. Mystique sort of stays on her point, but now Bucky comes off of that back point
Yeah.
to threaten her. And I think she holds her own because he gets quite close, I think, and she's now counting blanks,
Yeah.
and she tanks it. And I don't think Juggernaut does much. I think he tries to threaten. Obviously, the bots are back out, and I think Ultron punches the bots back to oblivion. So I just don't want them to get a go.
Free power.
Yeah, exactly. And he only really gets 1 attack. I keep thinking back in my mind, don't really want to like juice Ultron up. So if I want him to go down, he needs to go down in that activation. And with 1 attack from Juggernaut, it's just not reliable.
Yeah.
But we're still in a situation where I've scored 2 from the Researcher, 1 from the point that Mystique is on.
Mhm.
And Andrew still only got that back point.
I see. So you're winning on points in a big way. What's that? 7-2 by the end of turn 2?
6-2. Oh, so what must I've? Maybe he's contesting with. He must be contesting
Mystique.
with Mystique.
Yeah.
But it's now 6-2. He's got that 1. I've got the Researcher, but there's still that tidy 4 points gap. But like with Magneto dazed,
Yeah.
I've not really put much hurt on him. I'm a bit worried that he's winning that attrition battle.
Yeah. Which is, I guess, what you were planning.
What I was planning on. But this is what I was saying. They're a good attrition team, but against other attrition teams, often they need to be playing smarter.
Yeah.
And they have the ability to do that, whereas some of the other attrition teams need to rely on their attrition and therefore rely on their dice. And actually, I'm finding that I've got threats on the table he needs to deal with, and I'm still able to keep the points. And Juggernaut is just so survivable. He protected that Researcher and is essentially blocking the path to it at this stage.
Yeah. So come turn 3, does your attrition pick up, or does it continue in the same kind of way?
Turn 3 it does, because Magneto wakes up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's got a ton of power on him. He's now got 8 health.
And you've got priority.
I've got priority, yeah. So the Researcher's gone a bit further back to my corner as well, so I'm feeling a little bit more confident. But it's still, I don't think it's quite in range. I must have not got the angles right. I don't think it's quite in range of Pyro to get both. But yeah. So Magneto wakes up and he unleashes absolute hell. And I think I get cocky or something because I throw an attack into Hela and she goes down.
Oof.
And then I'm like, okay, now with this newfound power, because I like to, you want to try and get the most out of Magneto. You don't want to be doing his builder first off if he's got a load of power on him.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you soften your targets up with some throws.
Yeah.
Or I like to make sure I don't forget, get magnetic refraction up.
Yeah,
Give
nice.
yourself some room to gain more power. And that's exactly what I did. I managed to, I got 3 throws off in that turn, throwing a mixture of size 3s and size 2s. I got, both attacks, one into Hela and one into Ultron, and
Mhm.
both of them got dazed.
Nice. Oh, huge. Magneto makes up for being asleep.
Really, really, really does. And in an attrition battle, so often, like, I've just handed priority right back to him. But to take those, like, Ultron's activations are huge. They always do work. Take that out of that turn, I'm feeling confident. And also to take Hela's activation as well is I'm feeling quite good as well. So
And you've already got the scoreboard pressures on your side, so
exactly. And I'm thinking a bit sweaty here. I'm thinking, right, now I've dazed them, I can start retreating.
yeah,
I've
sure.
got the researcher. I probably only need the researcher and one secure with the number of models on the table. The researcher and one or maybe two secures to sort of see the game out.
Yeah.
That's the game plan.
Yeah. So how does he respond?
He responds, Bucky. Bucky takes out Mystique. She goes down.
Yep.
And Juggernaut tries to come back to take that point back, or at least contest it. So, because he's really maneuverable. But a boob from me, the way the terrain is, there's like a big Weapon X facility thing right in front of Mystique. Mystique is behind the point. The point is between the Weapon X facility and her. Bucky is on the other side of her. Juggernaut can't push himself through the terrain; it's too big. Can't push himself through Mystique, and therefore can't get onto that point to contest it.
Yeah.
I think I can get a punch off, but it's classic, Juggernaut either pops off or he doesn't. He only gets one attack, so it's a lottery. So yeah, I can't contest. The 2 points I gain this turn again is the researcher.
Pyro sat on the researcher.
Pyro sat on the researcher. Sadly, not quite on the on his back point as well, but he's just on the researcher. I don't get that Mystique point. Now Andrew gets that.
Yeah.
Plus the one still got Red Skull just sort of sat on the back on.
Yeah.
I think the mistake by Andrew was having so many models clumped up on that one back point early doors, because it put him on the back foot on scoring, and it really took Red Skull out of the game, which wasn't the end of the world for him. The character is of an earlier stage of MCP. It probably doesn't do the hurt.
Yeah.
And he wants to keep him alive to keep his power generation good with all his other characters. But anyway, it ends 8-4 to me at the end of turn 3.
Okay, so while you've dazed two of the characters, actually Andrew's caught up a little bit.
Yeah, because he scored 2.
Yeah,
he scored 2 this turn, but the gap is still 4.
Yes, sorry, he's actually not caught up. Yeah. So we're on turn 4 now. Turn 4, he has priority.
Turn 4, he has priority. The researcher finally reaches the back point, so Pyro can sit on them both.
Nice.
Pyro's been very little. He might have actually, the turn that he first moved on to the researcher, he might have been able to incinerate Ultron. I can't remember. I don't think it was consequential. Other than that, he's just been scoring points at the back. This turn, I can't remember who goes first on Andrew's side, but I sort of chicken out with Magneto. The points are starting to move to the back of the table. Magneto can't be up there by himself. Also, I'm thinking my point scorers need magnetic refraction, so Magneto retreats. He retreats back towards that researcher. He's on his injured side, so he's not helping much in terms of contesting it.
Yeah.
But at least he can help through the way. So, yeah, he starts moving back, and I'm thinking, right, let's try and get my characters out. So Ultron can't double attack and throw and all that juicy stuff. But the move that Andrew did, which was really good, he'd already done it earlier in the game. Red Skull.
Yeah.
Red Skull moves up, teleports Ultron forward, which suddenly then puts him into threat range. But unfortunately for Andrew, he needs to hurt Pyro in one.
Yeah.
He needs to get him in one attack and a throw, because he then needs his move to get onto the point.
Okay, yeah.
And unfortunately, his first attack and the throw leave Pyro on something like 1 health.
Oof. And for 5 health, he's quite fragile as well as Pyro.
Exactly. Yeah, I think what was great was having the cover from magnetic refraction, and the fact that Ultron's builder is energy. So I was rolling 4 dice with cover, which helped, and his dice let him down a little bit. The throw, I think I got quite lucky on. But anyway, I think he took 2 damage from each and was left on 1, which was not great. It meant that he needed to then put his last action into just finishing off. So because at the minute Pyro's scoring both. Magneto's technically just scoring the researcher, I think, or he's moved in such a way that he's just scoring the Infinity Formula. But either way, he's injured. So if Ultron can get on him, he just takes the points away from everyone. Because yes, he's injured as well, but he needs to get rid of that healthy character in Pyro. He does do it, but sadly can't reach the point himself. Hela's on her day side, so she can't run across and take it herself. Bucky goes down to Juggernaut,
Nice.
who eventually takes that last point. So with Pyro down, Hela sort of contesting with Ultron, no one's scoring those points.
Yeah.
Time then gets called.
Okay.
And I get the 1 point for the one that Juggernaut's on in the back corner, the one that Mystique had been sat on. Andrew gets 1 point for the one that Ultron's on, and the game finishes 9-5.
Interesting. Very low scoring game, but it felt like you were in control for most of it. Andrew kind of couldn't quite make up his early deficit.
Definitely. His I gained a 3-point advantage in turn 1, and then I essentially maintained that through the game. There was probably a way Andrew could have made turn 1 equal score by either contesting the middle and getting his other side point. He's got the same number of characters as me.
Yeah.
Then that would have completely changed the game, because it means I don't need to then go in defensive mode. He's suddenly playing catch up, and all his tools are all about dazing characters, and that meant he needed to use a lot of his action economy on attacks rather than movements to then contest me.
Yeah.
And I think that meant he struggled to claw back the points.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Game 1 win. That always feels nice to kick it off with a win.
It was also my first ever win with Brotherhood.
First ever win with Brotherhood. Well, what a place to do it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was on a game that timed out. So yeah, really taking that one to the bank.
Nice. And moving on to game 2. So we've started with a win and we're on to game 2. Who is your opponent?
So I played Andrew round 1. I'm now playing an Andy.
Nice.
Yeah, and Andy is playing Web Warriors. His roster is as bad as webby as you can get. I remember looking through his cards. He has 9 Web Warriors and 1.
Nice. Strong.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a 2-threat Web Warrior?
Nope. Wong is the 2-threat Web Warrior.
Classic. So yeah, it's essentially 10 Web Warrior characters. So we both won our first game. So yeah, we're going to game 2.
So priority goes to who?
Priority goes to me. It's a gross priority roll as well. It's one of those that you just wish you hadn't wasted on priority. It's like 3 crits, a wild, and a hit or something gross. So yeah, priority goes to me. And actually, I'm playing Web Warriors. I go with my extracts.
Okay.
Because I'm nervous. He's got the extracts that are spread across the table, and there's 5 of them, and I just know that all his webs are just going to pick them all up and run around, and I'm just not going to catch them. So I would rather compete on his secures by going potentially wider myself, but at least they're going to stay in the same place, and then play on an extract that works for me.
Yeah. So what crises do you draw?
So from mine, we get Senators, which is Brotherhood do like Senators, and then we get Riot Sparks over Extremis. So is it D-map? They're like a diamond.
Very wide. Yeah.
Very wide, with the healing.
So is this the time for Mystique?
It is indeed. So Mystique comes out. She brings along with her Juggernaut, Sabretooth the Apex Predator, the Blob, and Toad. So my 2 new toys from Christmas that I quickly got painted, I painted them up on like the 2nd and 3rd of January to play at this event, were Blob and Pyro. So I was really, really pleased to, by the end of game 2, I played with them both. And this is like the first time I've played with them. So
great.
Yeah, that was really good fun.
And what does Andy bring?
So Andy has brought Miles, and he's going with Miles' leadership. But he's also brought ASM, Black Cat, Gwen, and Moon Knight. So fully affiliated at 17 threats.
Awesome. I guess ASM's leadership's a little redundant with you've got a few slow movers in there. So
yeah. 2 of my characters are slow movers, and the others have like movement outside of the standard movement, like with hops and nothing stops the Juggernaut. So and throws and pounce and stuff. So I think he's made the right call.
Nice. So how does deployment go, and how does turn 1 play out?
So Senators, there's 6 juicy Senators right in the middle. And I got priority. So the classic move, Juggernaut goes first, picks up a Senator, gets that power exchange, pushes himself back, which is great because on such a wide map with so many extracts, I don't want to be wasting characters sat on that back point. But Juggernaut can pick up an extract and get back there with his push. he goes through terrain as long as there's not a size 4 between him and that back point. So that was really, really good. The fact that he could do that. Mystique also goes up and grabs one, which is really handy because then it sets up a deception on Moon Knight, who goes up and grabs Andy's first one. My third one that I pick up is Sabretooth. And that's because I want to get him close to Moon Knight, put the threat on Moon Knight. I want to see either him spending resources, tactics cards on getting Moon Knight to safety, or I just want Sabretooth to just go nuts into Moon Knight at the start of turn 2. ASM for him comes and picks up one of mine, and Gwen, Ghost Spider, comes up and picks up the other. So we've got 3 each. This leaves 2 of the characters for me. Toad. So you think, oh, Toad loves extracts. Go pick up an extract with him. But my thinking is he can steal one from one of his friends.
Yeah,
so he actually goes up onto, because he's quite maneuverable, a lot more maneuverable than the Blob. He goes up onto that right secure.
Yeah.
Miles Morales has gone onto my left secure. So Andy's right secure. And Blob just double moves to threaten Moon Knight. So the only damage that's gone into Moon Knight is from Mystique's pistols.
Yeah.
It's not a ton, but I've got 3 characters in the Blob, Juggernaut, and Sabretooth just waiting to pounce on him turn 2. So he uses Spider Tracker and gets Moon Knight to relative safety, which I'm quite pleased with.
Good early use of that card, which is such a good card.
Exactly, and when Web Warriors are so good at running away anyway, and that's just one of their tools to do that, I don't mind trading Deception for it. It was like Deception and maybe 2 damage for it. So yeah, fairly happy with that. But yeah.
So how does the turn end?
Scores are exactly the same. It's 5-5. Yeah,
Nice.
we've almost mirrored each other.
Yeah, and much quicker these than the last one. It was 9-5 at the end of the last game, and it's now 5-5 already at the end of turn 1.
Yeah, you feel like this game probably will, score out rather than time up.
So turn 2, what happens?
So turn 2, I've still got priority. I think we're both 5 wide.
Yeah.
So now dice finally start getting rolled, and this is where I start to feel sorry for Andy, because my dice really do pop off. I think the first move that I do is with Sabretooth, and it's a fairly innocuous. I think I'm within 3 of Miles, who sat on that side point. I'm thinking, Sabretooth doesn't mind going 1-on-1, but I can't, he's got stealth. I don't want to move and attack him. I've got 2 power, which has been enabled by Mystique's leadership. So nice, I do the Bloodthirsty Onslaught, which is range 3 with a place, so I can start threatening that objective. I'm essentially spending 2 power to get the place. I don't care about damage at this point, but you always find things where you're not looking for them, and I get like 6 unanswered damage through and take Miles out in one go.
Falls over. Ouch.
The man with so many rerolls, his 2 natural rerolls, his Miles reroll, and even can reroll the skulls.
Yeah.
And he blocks 1 out of 6 and goes down, and it's heartbreaking. I feel because I don't mean it, and it also makes Sabretooth's second activation pretty worthless.
Yeah.
I'm a bit annoyed because Sabretooth now sat on the point.
You don't have any power.
Yeah, I've got no power. I wanted to just get the place, maybe do 1 or 2 damage, and then pump him with my
your builder.
My builder, so I can get some power.
Yeah.
But yeah, Andy doesn't see. He doesn't feel sorry for me when I explain this, and
he won't be playing his tiny violin.
No, absolutely, absolutely not at all. So yeah, it's not great. Then Moon Knight, so he's already gotten out of trouble, but Juggernaut starts chasing after him, pushes himself up the table. But rather than punching Moon Knight, I punch Ghost Spider with 8 dice. Ghost Spider goes down as well.
Oof.
Yeah,
she is a bit flimsy, but
yeah. But I one shot. I do something like for 8 dice. I do something like 7 damage or something silly. It's one of those rolls. It's another one. Andy's lost his sense of humor at this point, and I don't blame him because he's just had 2 characters go down. His first activation was just to get Moon Knight out of there properly.
Yeah.
So Gwen became the obvious target because she's got an extract as well. But the one thing that Gwen can do, which is actually really smart, is that she can fall back and mission objective.
Yes. Okay.
So she does that and then gets the extract onto Black Cat.
Nice.
So that's a really nice play. So while I've done this damage, I'm not, apart from the secure on the left that I've not gained anything extra on the extracts. It's a really nice play from Andy. His Black Cat then decides to get out of there and move over to I think, move over towards Sabretooth's point. But this is after Blob, Asteroid M, himself at the table, which is
Oh,
amazing.
cool. Nice.
And, this slow mover, Juggernaut's now sat in a pretty decent position.
Mm-hmm.
So Blob comes up within 1. And I fell in love with Blob. And I think it was in this activation because he sat there, he did an attack and pushed characters off that back objective. So this is his back secure that Blob is now threatening. But then Black Cat puts an attack into him. That tickles, pushes them back.
Nice.
So Black Cat is like grappling hooked in, so then she can get 2 attacks off. Does an attack, and I'm just pushing her back off the point.
Nice.
So yeah, he's like, oh Jesus,
That's so annoying.
that's really frustrating. Yeah, after all the damage I've done on 2 of his characters, and I'm now threatening his back point. Yeah, he's just he can't. But Moon Knight is still there as well, so I'm still not getting anything. ASM starts chasing Toad. Classic, does 2 damage. Toad slipperies away.
Nice.
Yes, and it's a 7 dice one that does like 2 damage, and that allows me. I can't get out of range of the second attack, but it gets me within cover, which means then that second attack with 5 dice just doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
It means ASM takes the secure, and Toad doesn't really want to fight him, but it pushes Toad further up the table. So then in Toad's activation, he just double moves onto that back point, joining the Blob.
Nice.
So that sort of contests that, which means Black Cat and Moon Knight against Blob and Toad. It's shared. So I'm feeling pretty good at this point.
Yeah.
Mystique has just sort of stayed on that back point.
Yeah. How does the score end at turn 2?
I think, if I remember rightly, I felt like I'd done lots of work until we did the scoring.
Yeah.
And Andy still managed to score 4, and I scored 5. So I'm scoring my back point still. I'm no longer scoring the one that Toad was on, but I'm scoring the one that now Sabretooth is on, and I've got 3 Senators because, of course, Gwen managed to mission objective hers away.
Nice.
He's got 3 Senators, the one that ASM is on, but his back one is now contested. So I go a point up. I think it's 10-9 at this stage.
So despite doing a lot of damage, it's still 10-9. It's still close. And presumably going into turn 3, he has priority. So what happens?
I've just handed in priority. And it's the Web Warriors are just so good at keeping the points tally going without really doing any damage. Miles goes and Venom Blast Sabretooth. Doesn't really do very much damage, but doesn't need to. He's already got a ton of power on him from the damage that Sabretooth has done. Venom blasts him, takes his objective and runs away.
Yeah. He can move, swing. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice Miles play.
Really nice Miles play. And Sabretooth is no longer now in range 2 or 3. And actually, I don't, it's just sort of, you don't really want to move off the secure because he's the only one out there. So, really, really nice Miles play. Sabretooth had acted prior, I think, and I'd managed to get Miles. It was quite risky, but I managed to get Miles down to 1 health. But Black Cat says, I can't be dealing with the Blob, not pushing me away every time. So she's a long mover. She comes back. And she manages to interact with the thing that heals him. Miles interacts with the thing, heals himself, steals the objective, runs away.
Yeah.
Sabretooth's already activated and has not done what he needed to do.
Yeah.
In killing Miles. ASM starts getting aggressive. Well, he starts sort of pushing onto Mystique's point, so starts attacking them. So Juggernaut starts pushing himself back to try and contest that and help support Mystique. The Blob though does absolute bits, and I think now Daisy's Moon Knight. But the one thing that was really frustrating in this turn was Gwen. So Black Cat, on her way to helping Miles out, staggers Juggernaut.
Yeah, okay.
And leaves him on 2 power. I need 3 power to shake that stagger with nothing stops the Juggernaut.
Yeah, okay.
I'm staying quiet. I'm hoping he's still got a bunch of activations. I'm hoping he's going to attack him, give him 1 power. I'm not going to do the damage reduction. I need that power to unstagger myself. And he's played before. He knows this. But then he declares an attack with Gwen. And I'm thinking, juicy. But he trusts Gwen to not do any damage.
Yeah.
And what does Gwen
4
do?
dice.
Gwen does no damage, but gets herself a move. And that's why she's doing it. She's doing it for the move to get out of the situation. And she then moves onto the point to contest it, to take it from Sabretooth. So Black Cat is obviously contesting it, so they're sharing it. Gwen comes over and wins it for them. with her move, and Juggernaut is still sat like a sitting duck in the middle.
Staggered.
Yeah, staggered. All he can do is shake the stagger, move, gain the power, and push. He
Mhm.
can't do any attacks that turn, which is incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blob dazes Moon Knight, steals his Senator. Toad takes the Senator from Blob
Yeah.
and runs away.
Nice.
And because Moon Knight's dazed and the other two are pissed off, I'm fairly confident. Blob's just sat on that secure. I'm happy. But it means that we're still 3 apiece at the end of this round in terms
Yeah.
of Senators, because I've lost 1 and gained 1. He's lost 1 and gained 1. He doesn't have his back point, but he's got that side point back. No one is getting this far point, and this bottom one is contested.
Yeah.
So I think we both score 4 points. So I've still got that 1 point lead.
14-13 at the end of turn 3. Very close game. Turn 4 kicks off. What occurs?
So I can't remember exactly what happens, but I'm going to start at the end. And I know you like the suspense, but this isn't the last turn. Don't worry. Whatever happens in this turn, it ends 19-all.
Oh, it's a thriller.
Yeah, and for all the punches I've done and all the fighting and all the daisies, it's still so tight on the scoreboard. And this is the turn my characters start getting dazed.
Yeah. Is this the all webbed up turn?
Well, the all webbed up, I didn't expect it. Moon Knight does all webbed up. He's only got Toad and Blob in range.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it's really, really smart from Andy, because Blob's got on a secure and Toad's got an extract, and he wants to take them both out. That's a 2-point swing before they can even go and run away or kill him. So the all webbed up is played by Moon Knight. So Blob gets slowed. I'm thinking, don't care, I'm already slow, but it's the extra dice. That's what he wants. And Toad gets dazed, which means he drops the Senator.
Yeah.
Moon Knight picks up that Senator. Oh, no, Moon Knight can't pick up the Senator, I don't think, because he's got no power. He's double spended.
Mm-hmm.
He's done his first spender with loads of the extra dice and the place,
Yeah.
and into Blob, dazed him, and then that's gotten him in range of Toad, who's tried to run away, and that's dazed him.
Nice.
Annoyingly, if I just had like 1 more power on Toad the turn before, he would have been able to hop as well as steal.
Okay.
So he's only gotten a move away rather than a move and a hop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that might have saved Toad's life if he just had 1 more power. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So and Moon Knight's at least on the secure. I think ASM dazes Mystique. So she goes down. So she's pretty nothing. But Juggernaut is still hanging around. I think he bounces off ASM as well. And like I said, Sabretooth has gone down.
Oof.
So I think I've still got 2 Senators. So maybe Mystique didn't daze. So Juggernaut, I think Juggernaut and Mystique have still got the 2 Senators. I've got enough points to take me to 4, so I must still have 2 secures that must have that back point with Mystique and Juggernaut and one of the others. That takes me to 4, but he's now got 5 this turn.
So actually, this is the turn where, while you've taken a lot of hurt, you've still managed to keep up with the scoring. So it's 19-all.
Yeah, 18-all. 18-all. I've been 4. Yeah, sorry, I got that wrong. 18-all. So one thing that I've not mentioned about this tournament is that the timing is really strict. So when time is called, you finish your activation you're on, and you take the scoring as you are.
Right.
So we've hit 18 points each. So it goes to it's now turn 5. So this is the last turn because we've surpassed 16. But they call something like last 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And then it's dice down. So we think, right, well, we have to start the turn because we're drawing. We have to start it. Moon Knight picks up a Senator and runs away. He can't kill anyone. He just picks up that Senator. He knows that he's got 2 characters who are going to out-contest the secure. So he picks up that Senator and runs away. I think he tries some throwing crescents, but he doesn't want the ha-ha that tickles.
Yeah, sure.
So he doesn't want the push, and put Moon Knight into more danger. He just wants a Senator. Likewise, Sabretooth, now juiced up on power, dazed the previous turn. He actually has an awesome activation, but it could have been better. And it's a big mistake from me. I declare stop squealing and die, which is where you spend 4 power and you get 3 extra dice on your next attack.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do it into Black Cat. She's the only one holding an extract on that point. She's the only one that's healthy.
Yeah.
So she's the only one. She's scoring 2 points in that corner, and I'm out of range of Miles. And Black Cat's a juicier target, but Gwen's there, isn't she? So Gwen lifesavers her out of range. It refunds my action, but it doesn't refund the superpower that
Yeah.
I've just spent 4 power on.
Yeah, ouch.
Oh, doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. It does matter. It does matter because I then have to build just standard 5 dice builder into Gwen.
Mm. Well, presumably it's an 8 dice builder.
It would have been an 8 dice builder, but I lost the extra. So I declared the attack into Black Cat,
Oh, I see. That's how it works. Okay.
and the action gets refunded, but the fact that it was your next attack doesn't.
Right.
So yeah, I lose the extra dice. It's a really smart play. I should have seen coming. It's happened to me before, where often people have done it with all sorts, where they can pull
Mhm.
people out the way. Escort to safety can do it, and a few other similar superpowers. But Gwen is the only one in range, so she gets hit, and I think she goes on to like 1 health. It's enough for me to throw her. I gain enough power as well to throw her into Gwen. Sorry, into Black Cat. Into Black Cat. Gwen into Black Cat. It does the 1 damage I need to do to kill Gwen.
Mhm.
And it puts like 1 damage on Black Cat. I'm then thinking I can either attack now, or I've got 4 power left. So I could pounce. Yeah, because I've gained 3. I was hoping to get 8 dice and get
Yeah.
loads of power anyway. But I've got some power because I've done a ton of damage to Gwen. So I pounce instead. I think a 5 dice attack versus 4 automatic damage. I'm probably more successful on the pounce,
Yeah.
and I get lucky, and Black Cat gets dazed, drops a senator. I pick up the senator.
Yeah.
Miles is waiting in the wings with a ton of power, so I just run away. I can't hold the
okay.
secure away from him, having already activated. So I just run away. My plan is, if I've got time, Toad will come and steal it from him,
Yeah.
in case Miles can get into threat range.
Mhm.
So that's my first activation. He's done his first activation. My second activation is I go with Juggernaut. Oh no, he must have a second activation. He must have a second activation
Mhm.
because he's done 2 activations at the point I then go with Juggernaut.
Yeah.
And Juggernaut chases Moon Knight into the middle of the table, KOs him.
Nice.
Time is called.
Okay.
So I've got 1 on Juggernaut, 1 on Sabretooth. Yeah, one on Mystique maybe.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I've got the back point that Blob is now sat on health, like he just flipped and Moon Knight ran away. And I've got this back point as well that Mystique is on, or sort of someone is on. So that takes me to 23. And Andy's on 22 when time is called. And what really hurts, and he absolutely deserved the draw, when we talked out the game, ASM takes one of those points off me
Yeah.
and gains a point. Likewise, Mystique can do something, and Toad can do something. But either way, once it had all been talked out, it would have finished 23 all.
Right. Okay. So the fact that it was dice down,
Yeah, dice down. They got me the W.
clutch to the
It was a
win.
very quiet pack up. I felt awful, and I think the fact that it was a draw to a loss probably isn't as bad. And there was a moral dilemma. Should I have just said, "Oh look, we talked it out. It was going to be a draw. Let's call it a draw."
Yeah.
But at the time, I thought, would my opponent have done the same to me if there was dice down? What would have happened?
Yeah. It's also difficult because it's the rules of the tournament. If the rules of the tournament are dice down, then that's kind of how it goes. And maybe that's something to consider if you're running an event, whether you play dice down or whether you play out to the end of the round.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I would encourage events to call last turn,
Mm-hmm.
but try and bake in some breathing room between games so that players can finish those turns.
Yeah.
And you can encourage them to try and play them out quickly. But yeah, I think it stung a little bit knowing that I think there were like 2 activations each left and a draw to play for.
Mm-hmm. However, it sounds like a really good game, really high scoring, really close all the way through, and you're 2-0.
2-0, and really, really pleased with how Mystique competed with the Web Warriors on an extract where there was 6 on the table.
That's huge. So 2-0 going into lunch, and we'll be back for round 3 momentarily. So we're 2-0 after lunch. It's a great start to 2024. What happens in game 3? Who do you see and what are you playing against?
So across the table from me, I see a chap called James, and he is playing X-Force.
Nice.
Really nice guy. In fact, at lunchtime, one of our friends from the London scene warned me. He played him earlier on in the event and said, absolutely lovely game. but he will wreck you. So, so I took that on board, and I was expecting a tough game, but yeah, that's what I was facing.
I mean, you're 2-0. You couldn't expect anything less.
Exactly. You're now playing the top players now.
So what crisis do you pick, and what team do you go with?
So I win priority, and I got to go with my secures because, like I said, it's MCP, and he's playing a fighty team, and I don't think I'd mind his extracts. So go with my secures, and we get Mayor Fisk. So the witnesses, the two in the middle, and we get hammers, fear grips, world as worthy, terrorize. So yeah, hopefully, it sounds like it's going to be a bloody one with hammers all over the place and the fighting going on in the middle. So it's a choice between, I think, 16 and 17 threats, and James chooses 16. So I bring to the table Magneto, Pyro, Rogue, and Captain America Sam Wilson, who I did not anticipate to be a Magneto model. I thought he'd be a Mystique model.
No Mystique. You've gone Captain America instead.
Yeah, I'm looking at those wide hammers and thinking who's going to collect them and quickly get back into the fight.
Sure.
It's not going to be Magneto. So.
Yeah. And what does James take?
So James takes Cable, of course. He brings Wolverine, the original Wolverine, since his glow up is pretty much an auto take for a lot of players. He brings Psylocke and Iron Fist. So he's gone 4 wide as well.
Cool. Interesting. 16, 4 wide. Big old brawl.
He's gone very punchy, but also quite maneuverable. Like both Psylocke and Wolverine have like a charge or charge equivalent. Iron Fist has a place on one of his attacks, and Cable can obviously jump around with range 5.
X-Force are a bit like that. They place, they move, then they shoot you. So, with that in mind, how does the deployment start, and what happens in turn 1?
So turn 1, I think the first thing I do is I send Rogue to go get the right-hand hammer. We've all set up in the middle. We're not giving the game away. So Rogue, she double moves and picks up a hammer. Wolverine then essentially mirrors her, but on the other side, double moves, picks up a hammer. Great. Then go with Pyro. Pyro then just moves up to the middle of the table and jumps on a witness. At this stage, Cable is cat and moused, so he looks like he's going to be picking up the back hammer. For me, Pyro picks up that back hammer and moves on to the middle. I'm thinking about that beam and just how much a hammer is juicy and wanting to get off those wild incinerates.
Yeah, sure.
So then he moves Psylocke up, and Psylocke has got a range 4 with a pursuit. So actually, she can threaten that midline turn 1. So she moves up. She then does her pursuit attack into Rogue. I think she does a bit of damage and moves forward. Cable obviously is already a little bit forward. So I go with Sam Wilson. And Sam Wilson moves up. And a bit of tech in Sam Wilson that I never have really thought about before. His shield throw pushes. It's only size 2, but if it does damage, it pushes.
Yeah.
And I managed to get a ricochet from Psylocke into Cable and push them back.
Huge.
Which I was absolutely buzzing with.
Yeah.
So I definitely push one at Psylocke back. I might not then push Cable back on the ricochet. I don't think I'd do the damage, but I'm really chuffed to be able to push them back, and I think I've moved on to that other witness, and then Magneto, Asteroid M's.
Nice.
Asteroid M's up onto Rogue. I think this means he has to move. He tries to get an attack off onto Cable. Really nice play from James. Heroes for Hired. It gets Heroes for Hired turn 1.
Immediately.
So I did not see this coming. I did not see it as a move in turn 1, because rather than it's great as a bodyguard, but Cable wasn't going to go down.
Yeah.
Well, probably not. Maybe he would have, but probably not. It's the blooming place you get with it.
Yeah.
So suddenly, Iron Fist has gone from a relatively insignificant place where he's probably just going to double move up to the middle to a place where he can threaten turn 1. And then he gets to throw off on the other side, on the other end of it, because I didn't daze him. So so Iron Fist in this great position, so that in his activation he just moves to contest the point that Pyro's on. So I'm not scoring that. And then Cable goes. Cable has to body slide to get back onto the hammer that he's been pushed off of. So maybe I got a second attack off with Magneto to push him. But either way, he's been pushed, and he has to body slide back onto the hammer. Cable doesn't care. shoots Magneto twice. After a little bit of damage that he's had from Iron Fist, Magneto gets dazed turn 1.
Oof.
Yeah.
Turn 1 days of your leader.
Oh, it hurts.
Cable's good. Cable's good these days. Like, he does damage.
He's very good. And with the re-rolls from the leadership
Yeah.
that both Iron Fist and he got, plus he
Yeah.
had the extra dice from the hammer, yes, it was nasty. It was nasty.
Yeah.
And I think he actually only got the incinerate off on the second attack, which was obviously pointless when he goes down. But yeah, that hurt a lot. And having had lost Magneto turn 2 of game 1 as well, it felt like a recurring theme as soon as Magneto jumps into the middle.
So what are the scores at the end of the turn?
So we've both got 2 hammers. I think I might be 2 points up with Sam Wilson on one of the witnesses.
Right. Yeah.
But Iron Fist and Pyro contesting the same other Fisk. So I think we're 2 points up. So I can't move the one that's being contested, but James can move the other one. And I think he moves it slightly closer towards Psylocke and Cable, who have both been pushed away to stop the threat.
So round 2, James has priority?
I've got priority.
Oh, you've
because
got
I started with priority, both 4 characters wide, and Magneto obviously dazed after he's gone. So I've got priority still, which is great. And I think the obvious move is to go with Magneto and just try and do as much hurt as possible. But I'm a little bit shell-shocked from the amount of damage that Cable is able to do. And with Psylocke there to just do even more as well, I'm thinking he's not going to survive 8 damage. I've got patch up, but I can't patch him up when he's on full health.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance I'm not going to be able to get a character in range to patch him up after one of his activations. So I use a move that I rarely use, which is Airlift with Sam Wilson. I go with Sam Wilson first. He throws a shield into them. He might even get another push up onto Psylocke, which is great. And he then airlifts Magneto out of danger and over to the Fisk that Pyro and Iron Fist are on, and that Wolverine is now threatening. Because I'm thinking Wolverine's going to jump in and murder Pyro. So if I can move away from Cable and then into that help them out, and it's good because Magneto's got enough power that even in Sam Wilson's activation, I can put on magnetic refraction.
Yeah. Now
I've got a bunch of characters in that range as well, so I'm hoping that they survive. Spoiler alert: they don't. Magneto gets an activation off, and I think I managed to take down Iron Fist and daze him, and maybe throw some terrain, but not too much. Cable comes across, puts some hurt into Magneto, but not as much as he could have done. He could have done a lot more, but that's fine because Wolverine then just goes and finishes him off.
Sure.
So at the end of turn 2, I've lost Magneto.
Ouch.
It really, really hurts. Pyro's still kicking and still got that hammer, which is great. And actually, Pyro activates late and then dazes Wolverine.
Okay.
So Wolverine he's gone, so he's not going to heal again. I get an incinerate on him in that first turn, and I then finish him off. So if he's incinerated, his energy dice aren't amazing. He's only got 2.
Yeah.
And I think there was a situation where it just wasn't ideal for exceptional healing. So I think he was saving it for his injured side anyway. So
yeah, sure.
So Wolverine does go down as well. So Pyro is on that point, but Cable's now moving across. Psylocke's moving across. Rogue's out a bit of no man's land, and she's got a hammer. So I'm happy that she's alive. But she's coming across. I think she charges to threaten Psylocke. So the fight is moving to the left-hand side of the table.
Yeah.
But I've lost Magneto. Yes, I've dazed Wolverine, but it's not great. And I can't remember how the scores go, but essentially it flips. I think I had a 2-point advantage in that first turn, and I'm only scoring with the 2 hammers in this turn.
Yeah.
And I think that means that James can get a 2-point advantage in this turn.
Okay. So it's something like 6-4. No, sorry, 8-6.
8-6 now. 8-6, yeah.
Okay. So round 3?
Round 3, my priority is now, if he's taken my leader off, I've got to take his leader off. And actually, I daze him in quite good fashion. The MVP to try and take out Cable was Rogue.
Yeah.
Rogue managed to get, she's had a hammer on her, so she can charge, and he's got more power gaining potential, as well as, more likely to get the sap power, but also mutant absorption.
Yeah, okay.
And I can't remember if it was turn 3 or turn 4, but I managed to mutant absorption Cable when he's got 0 power, so it's just pure damage.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah.
And I mutant absorption first, which is pure damage. I do like 4 and then punch him and he's down. And at this point he's picked up, I think, some of the the hammer that I've picked up from Wolverine has gone on to Pyro. Pyro's then been dazed by Cable, and Cable's got those. But then Rogue comes over. She doesn't have the power at this point then to then pick up all the hammers. So I pick up one. Actually she does, but I don't want them sat on her because she's got like 2 health left, and Psylocke is right there. So I don't want her to just be like a 3 VP swing. So she picks up like one of them, and then or she doesn't pick up either of them. They just move to opposite sides of Cable. I'll deal with them later. But it's another turn where he gets both the Fisks this time. But the hammers are a little bit all over the place. So I think he gets another. He extends the points lead, but essentially it gets to a position where I want to say he's 14-11 up.
Oof. So it's tight.
It's very tight.
But he's close. He's close to winning.
Very close to winning. And he probably will win this turn. But this is the last turn. Spoilers. And I get to move the Fists. He's scored them both, and I get to move them. And I'm thinking Cable's now dealt with. I think Cable might even be off the table now. Over turn 2 and turn 3, I managed to deal with him. And at the start of turn 4 or turn 5, he's gone. So we're 3 characters each now, but obviously James has got this big old points lead. But there's hammers all over, seem to be all over the place. But I move one of the Fisks to damage Psylocke, and I move the other to near a hammer that's been dropped by someone, so that Pyro can essentially come and pick up that hammer and get a beam off that, or get an attack into Psylocke. Psylocke's still healthy, and I think she might even have a hammer on her at this stage, but she's the only like healthy character left. Everyone's injured, so she needs to go down.
Old attrition battle.
Yeah, so I chip a damage off with one of them, and the other one goes near each other. The fatal mistake here is that they are close enough to each other that one model could contest them both. Pyro moves to collect that hammer is on one side of them. He's not contesting them both. He does the deed. He dazes Psylocke. Great. Psylocke is dealt with. Wolverine comes over, and I think at this point Iron Fist had taken out Sam Wilson. Yeah. And I think Wolverine comes in and finishes her off. Or maybe Wolverine doesn't go Iron Fist and finishes him off. He's now off the table. I've just got 2 characters left. The other one's Rogue. She's run away a little bit with these hammers after she finishes off Cable. And it's Mutant Absorption again. I can move and charge, and I've got 2 hammers at this point. So my builder is the same amount of dice as what my spender would be with the sap power, which is great. And it's a perfect storm because I do enough damage, it forces out Exceptional Healing. But he's got enough damage on him anyway and because he only gains 1 power. Yeah. So after the attack and the Exceptional Healing, he's got 2 damage on him. No, 3 damage on him. He's got 3 health left, and he's only got 2 power, or one power maybe from the Exceptional Healing. He spent it and then gained the 1 power from the damage. 1 power. So I need a Mutant Absorption that does 4 successes.
Big Mutant Absorption.
Yeah. And I've got the 2 power from that attack. I think I get the sap power, which actually brings him down to 0. And I get it. I get my 4. So even though he's been able to use Exceptional Healing, and I'm thinking no chance, Wolverine's off the table with the Mutant Absorption. Rogue, where have you been all my life? Yeah, he's absolutely my MVP. And suddenly I'm thinking I'm back in the game here. This game's mine. Like he's just got Iron Fist left. That's it. Psylocke is dazed. Pyro's moved. Rogue has come and dealt with Wolverine, so Wolverine hasn't got to go. At the minute, he's not scoring any points, and I've got 4 hammers and one of the Fisks, so I'm on 6 points, and that is taking me to 17. And he's currently not getting any, so he's still on 14. Yeah, where the hell did this come from? But that fatal error I made in the power phase of moving the Fisks. So what can Iron Fist do? Just double moves into the middle, because we're both injured. He's contesting the one that Pyro's on, so I lose 2 points, go down to 15, and he gains 2 for the one that I'm not contesting and goes to 16.
16-15. Oh, it's so close.
I could have damaged Psylocke and still had them out of range of each other, but I didn't. I just didn't think about it. I just moved it sideways, got it close to Psylocke, did the damage. I could have had them further away.
MCP is a game of inches.
Oh, it really is. The margins are so critical. I honestly don't think I'll ever make that mistake again
Yeah,
because it was
you'll
literally
really
the
think
difference.
about it.
Yeah, it's a difference between winning and losing. It actually made me think that I'm not very good at Fisk. There's actually so much more complexity to Fisk than I thought.
Yeah,
When you think about where you're moving that token,
yeah,
whether the damage is worth it, whether the stun is worth it, should you be like, it lost me the game, that decision. But James was an absolute pleasure to play against.
yeah,
He played a cracking game. I tried to be annoying throughout with moving away. Yes, he had some good dice early on, but I definitely had some good dice late on with my mutant absorptions and my attacks into Cable later. But it was an absolute cracker.
yeah. Sounds like it.
Mm.
Sounds like it. 16-15 loss, unfortunately. So
Yeah,
you're 2-1 going into the final game.
it felt like a win.
It felt like a win.
Felt
Yeah.
like a win.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was so far behind to pull it back it felt like a win.
So we're at the final round of the day. We're recording this in hindsight, and so I would like to say that some listeners may find the following content distressing. So take it away, Curtis. Who are you playing against?
So round 3, I'm on 2 wins, 1 loss. I come up against Connor. Connor is a big deal in the MCP scene, like probably one of the best webs players in the world. Huge, really highly ranked on Longshanks. I played him a few times in events and lost to him. But when you win games at events, you expect to come up against these, and I felt good that my final game was against such a top player. It made me think that I must be having a good event. I must be having a good tournament. So really pleased to get that match up and have a go. Connor is running defenders.
Nice.
But it's like a defender's webs split.
Sure.
He could do either or. And we roll priority. I win priority. A bit nervous because he is a very good fighty team. But I look at his extracts and they look a bit too websy.
Mm-hmm.
So I go with my extracts. And what do we pull? Researcher and Mayor Fisk.
Oh, it's a brawl. It's a big old brawl.
It really is a big old brawl. And actually, it didn't matter when we both had those in our rosters, so it really didn't matter.
Yeah.
But annoyingly, he then got to choose a threat. He chose 16. And I'm thinking, well, 16's all right for me. 16's all right because I went with Magneto, Juggernaut, and Cable.
Nice. So going 3 wide.
3 wide, some 3 great models. Cable's just been an absolute cracker. Played a cracker against me in the last game. He's a decent model now, and he can protect them. Hopefully, I'll always maintain priority. And Connor sees that, and he's like, I was really hoping you'd go 4 wide. And when I hear that, I'm like, rubbing my hands. No, I've got him here. He's gone Daredevil, Hulk, Wolverine, and Wong.
Classic Daredevil Defenders 16 threat, that.
Absolutely. And it's really powerful. A lot of synergy there. A lot of them like those re-rolls they get. A lot of them like being close. There's a fair bit of displacement with throws and stuff and pushes on attacks. So and Wong can just feed people power and heal them. So very, very, very good, very powerful.
So what happens with turn 1?
So turn 1, I've got to go first. I pass.
Sure.
Because I can. I've got priority, I've got 3 models, so I pass. And then what does he do? Wong goes. Wong meditates, passes the power to Wolverine.
Yep, nothing wrong with that.
Nope, nothing wrong with that. So now I have to go, and I still really don't want to go. Really don't want to go, but I do. I move with Juggernaut. He's the tankiest, I think. He can move, push into terrain, get me some power. I don't do that, but I double move into the middle, so I got plenty of power there. I'm thinking there might be a potential "Do you know who I am?" move later on that I can do in someone else's activation. But also I'm thinking of Asteroid M as well. I'm thinking of getting Magneto up there quickly. So I leave him on the 3 power. He goes with Daredevil. Daredevil comes up and I think takes on one of the other Fisks. I think I then go with Magneto because there's no decent targets for Cable. And this I think was a mistake. I think I should have gone with Cable to position him to then, when Magneto does move, Cable's out of range of attacks but in range of giving him extra dice.
Yeah.
But I don't. I go with Magneto and I'm thinking Daredevil's a target. He's in the middle. So I put attacks into Daredevil. And what's quite nice is I make sure that I'm outside of 2.
Yeah.
Because I want to push him off the point. I want to push Daredevil off the point. I want to force him to have to come try and take that point back. So Magneto's on 1 point and Juggernaut's on the other. He then goes with Wolverine. And Wolverine's now got 2 power on him, and
Mhm.
he moves. He then does. He really is the best at what he does, and he no matters the cost. So he takes 3
Mhm.
damage to then do his spender, counting wilds as 2 into Magneto, and I'm fearing the worst. Luckily, I've got enough power on me from my attacks into Daredevil and from my
Mhm.
leadership. I can put my big boy trousers on and I can roll 6 dice,
Nice.
which is great because it also means he's not getting his throw off if he doesn't finish me
Mhm.
off with the attack. And he doesn't. I think I roll quite well in my defense. He doesn't really do enough. He doesn't have a pierce on that one.
Mhm.
And he does like 2 damage, which, I'm chuffed with. I'm absolutely chuffed.
Yeah. You could have been looking at a squished Magneto again.
Exactly. And, it seems to be a running thing with Magneto. But Wolverine is now sat on that point, contesting it with Magneto where Daredevil previously was. So I'm not scoring it, but at least Magneto's not dead. I'm happy. I'm thinking
Yeah.
2 points with Juggernaut, nothing over there. No one's on the researcher at this point.
Mhm.
There is a way you can get Juggernaut onto both, but with the terrain, I couldn't get the angle to sit directly
Okay,
in the
yeah.
middle to do both. What does Hulk do? Hulk comes up and just pushes everyone off.
Yeah. Classic.
Literally pushes everyone off. Cable comes up, he body slides and tries to put 2 attacks into Wolverine or Hulk, whoever's there, and just doesn't really do much.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't even get his Incinerate off, and Hulk is the last activation of the round, and he pushes everyone off the points.
Mhm.
And now Wolverine is on his point. Hulk is now contesting both the researcher. So Connor goes 6-0 up, turn 1.
Oof. And how does it go on from there?
Well, Archie, it doesn't get any better. It's brutal actually, and I won't go through all the details because the turns sort of repeat themselves.
Mhm.
I will activate, try and do as much hurt as I can. I don't do quite enough. The Hulk can then push everyone off the point.
Yeah.
And the Hulk being able to go last every round meant that I was never able to stay on a point. He was always able to throw.
Mhm.
He always had enough power. Him and Wolverine always had enough rerolls because the 2 models were always near each other.
Yeah.
I brought Cable up to try to get his rerolls as well with another body slide. That just put Cable in threat range. And I'm thinking Cable's now in a great position. He can give everyone extra dice, but Wolverine comes in and dazes Cable in one hit.
Yeah.
He's got enough power on him. Magneto's not
Wong.
been able to take him out,
Ah.
and characters like Wong just helping them all out. I think I managed to do you know who I am to Daredevil. He's activated, and I just get him out of there. But he doesn't need Daredevil at this stage. Daredevil then runs on to the far Fisk, which is now being moved further away from the fight while we all fight
Yeah.
on this right-hand one where Hulk is just pulling everyone off. Daredevil's over there. I think the next turn finishes 6-0 as well. The turn after that, I think, fortunately to me, only finishes 2-0. I think I managed to daze some characters, but we're going into round 4 and it's 14-0. Archie, have you ever played a game where you've not scored a point?
I don't think so. I don't think I've heard of one. I think you're the first.
I'd never played a game where I'd not scored a point. I've played a game where I'd not scored many. I think I've lost 18-2 before, 18-3.
Mhm.
But turn 1 is usually impossible for you to not score at least 1.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't. And having priority stung me because it meant I was going last.
Yeah.
There was also occasions where Magneto didn't have enough power to add his extra dice, so it meant that he could suddenly then be pushed. Or, because there was another point where the terrain had just started all being used up. And don't get me wrong, I was doing hurt myself, but I didn't have the control.
And I guess that's where your team fails against another attrition team like Defenders that have really good control as well.
Absolutely. It was savage. The game ended 16-0.
Oof.
I did manage to take Wolverine and Hulk off the table in that final turn.
Nice.
Which meant that he could only score 2. And I also managed to daze Wong actually in that turn. I managed to KO Wolverine essentially with Magneto. And I managed to get Magneto in a position where he could throw terrain to finish these characters off.
Yeah.
Juggernaut managed to get past Exceptional Healing. So Exceptional Healing wasn't played all game because he'd been dazed himself and flipped.
Yeah.
So now he's got a throw. So he throws Wolverine into the Hulk, does some damage to Hulk, does 1 damage to Wolverine, and then I push into Wolverine.
Nice.
And then I punch the Hulk. So actually, I think Juggernaut takes them both out.
Nice.
Magneto can then sort of move, and he throws terrain at Wong. I think it takes 2 pieces of terrain. It needed to take 1.
It's that Wong buff.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's nuts. That if he'd gone down to the first throw, I would have been able to had enough power to throw a size 4 at Daredevil and maybe make the game go on one more turn.
However, at 14-0 down, I think you're staring down the barrel of a defeat. So it's quite impressive to lose 16-0 and still take off 2 out of his 4 models.
Yeah, but it screamed like I was that naive newbie who was like fighting, and I don't think I am that player, and I was trying.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much since that game, but Connor was in control the whole time.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I'm excited to hear about what you've learned. So let's move on to our final segment. But you've gone 2-2.
Yep.
You'd never had a win with Brotherhood before. You had 3 very good games, very close games, and you might be getting yourself a reputation here of being a bottle job in the last round.
I don't mind being wrong, as long as I can correct my mistakes.
So, on to the debrief. Apart from being a little shell-shocked after the final round,
God, yeah.
how did you find playing with Brotherhood?
You know what? I really enjoyed it, and it's made me want to do it more, because I think they're a really rewarding team when you learn them. I don't think they're the best attrition. I think there's a lot of better attrition out there. I don't think they're the best objective, but they're in a really unique place where they can quite easily pivot into either. And when they're fighting, they can also play a bit objective-y, and when they're playing objective-y, they can also be a bit fighty. So they're quite balanced in that sense. Often a bit of a negative in MCP, where teams are rewarded for spiking and being an expert. But actually, I think there is a way to play Brotherhood where you can do really well at events, because you can go toe to toe with almost anyone because of the flexibility.
So on that, if you've got a bit more flexibility, focusing on the crises first of all, would you change your crises to move away from that fighty, or would you stick?
No, I don't think so. I think I've thought about this a lot, and I think the crises stay as they are, but I change the way I think about them. So I think Mayor Fisk is too fast scoring for Magneto, and I think the way the secures move does not benefit a 6 threat piece who doesn't really move himself.
Yeah.
So it's too easy when you score it one turn for your opponent to just move it out of range of Magneto, and then Magneto has to waste an activation getting to it, which is not good. I think you keep Mayor Fisk in, but it becomes a Mystique secure.
Right. Even though you're not doing the interactions.
Because you can still interact with it with the secure. And ideally, you've got your opponent's extract, which you could still potentially benefit on. You know, that could, as long as that's not researcher. This is a unique situation where Mystique probably still would have been the wrong idea.
Yeah.
But in most of the situations, there'd be another extract which you could play into. But the fact that she can like put her token on one of those and it moves with it.
Yes, of course.
So they need to be really active about how they then move on to and get rid of that. So that's quite a fun thing. And I think you can go quite brawly with Mystique, but have a little bit more movement. And I think at those low threat levels, so say you are playing 16 threat on Mayor Fisk, you go with Mystique. I think Mystique, Juggernaut, Sabretooth as a place to start is 12 threat. You can then bring in a 4 threat model of your personal choice.
Yeah.
I think if I'd gone Mystique, Juggernaut, Sabretooth, and Rogue, I actually think I would have had a much better chance in that game.
I guess actually going 3 wide in that game, because you weren't as attrition-y and you weren't taking characters off the board, probably disadvantaged you in the end.
Yeah, not having that last activation really did hurt me, or not being able to do something about that last activation. I think it really did hurt. And Sabretooth is such an amazing attrition piece, and he's at 16 threat. He's very difficult to fit in alongside Magneto and Juggernaut. And Juggernaut for Brotherhood is a bit of an auto take. I find it very difficult to think about when he's not a good take because of his movement. His objective play and his tankiness is amazing. He's even when he's not doing damage, he's still affecting the game so well. So, and it's difficult, 15 threat, great. Sabretooth, Magneto, Juggernaut, but at 16 threats, you can't do that. But Sabretooth is so vital for those fights. So you can save yourself some pocket change by dropping Magneto. So I think that's one of the changes I would make.
You mentioned earlier that one of the big problems with Brotherhood is they have a lack of control. So are there any characters you'd bring in maybe to amend something like that?
Absolutely. I would bin off Cable. So there's two things that I think I want to bring into the roster. One of them is a Mystic threat. I don't really have a Mystic attack threat, and I ideally I want something that could potentially move other models. So something like a field leader from Cyclops, or something that prevents people from moving, like Shield Mind. So Emma Frost or Jean Grey. I think, and with Emma Frost and Jean Grey, they both bring that Mystic attack as well. In fact, on a recent episode of the Danger Room of their 24 Days of Christmas, the roster that they talked about in the Brotherhood episode had Jean Grey in it, and I think that's a great shout because she brings with her a terrain throw. She's got a long range, really strong Mystic builder. Her spender is amazing, and she can stop. She can move characters. She can move friendly characters out after they've already activated, and she can stop them from being moved in your opponent's activation.
And I mean, you love Jean Grey. So you've been trying to find a place for Jean Grey for a while. So
Yeah, before Cable's Conquests, when she got her glow up, I really tried to make her work in Cyclops's X-Men, and I just don't think I'm skilled enough for that. But I wonder if actually she has a place here in Brotherhood.
excellent. So Brotherhood are here to stay. Do you think you'll bring them again to an event?
I think so.
Maybe we'll hear about them again.
I think you certainly will. So we've got a teams tournament, Secret Wars, at the beginning of March that we're going to. We've been talking with our team, and I've bagged Brotherhood.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking about between now and then is I want to get good with. I don't want to let the team down. I want to get good with Brotherhood, and I want to be playing with them, thinking about which characters I can't take because my friends have them. So a lot of people at the event was like, "Where's Hulk? Where's Hulk?" And I'm thinking, no, I can't lean on Hulk because surely one of my teammates will want Hulk.
Hulk's such an easy pick. You wanna try new things, see what's good.
Exactly. Lizard was in my original iteration of this roster as well, and he's like a 3-threat version of that type of pick. He's too easy to pick. He's I want to be smarter, and I think Brotherhood really rewards smart play. A couple more things I've learned: Asteroid M doesn't need to be turn 1. Actually, Asteroid M worked best when it was later in the round. So in that second game that I won, which moved Blob up the table, that was really good. And in practice games, I've had Sabretooth move across the whole map to then daze a character which he you wouldn't have thought he was threatening, purely because he was able to Asteroid M off of Toad, and just having that threat there later in the game for a reposition, I think is a lot more effective than that turn 1 fighting. And then also with the constructs with Magneto, I was always just making sure that they were in range of me to throw them, but not in range of my opponent to pick them up and throw them. I think I should be smarter. Magneto doesn't like being moved around, so why don't I? He's size 2, they're size 2. Why don't I use them to backstop him? So they throw him into him.
Nice.
Yes, he takes a damage when he goes into them, but at least he's not moved. And actually, saving him having to move back could be worth taking that damage. So
and maybe bringing a card like Indomitable.
Yes,
where you stop the movement, you just do that movement prevention as one of your focal points.
Absolutely, I think Indomitable would be a good play. I think I could happily drop Patch Up for Indomitable. There were games I brought Patch Up, and I never actually had a time to use it because models weren't in the right position, or they just did too much damage too quickly.
Yeah. Well, great. Sounds like you had a good day, and 2-2 again, same as the last pod. So Emma Frost's Hellfire Club and Brotherhood are the same for you.
Yes,
How was the event overall?
Really good. I really enjoyed it. It was a nice venue. Tables were fantastic. There was one thing that was a luxury that you don't get at lots of events was there was tons of space around the edge of the table for you to put all your admin. Yet the rounds were an hour 90 minutes, which seemed short at the time, but actually, apart from that first game and of course the draw, games were finishing normally, and even that draw, it was going to end that round anyway, so it was close. But no, really good, and I really enjoyed the road trip. So Dr. Norbert and a couple of others jumped in his car and we drove down together. It's about 45 minutes out of London, and it's always good fun going on these trips with others, so you can talk about it on the way back, talk about it on the way there. It's always a good laugh.
Well, great. Well, I guess we will wrap up there. So before we finish, where can people find you, Curtis?
You can find me on Instagram. I'm Simple Edge Highlights, or you can find me on Discord. I'm Curtis, and on Longshanks, if you're ever looking at the events, you'll see me as Curtis H. So yeah, you can find me there.
Excellent. And you can find me, Archie Cable. You can find me on Instagram at Smeagol's Corner, or you can find me on Discord as Archie_RC. And thanks for listening, everyone. And as always, keep up the conquest.
The name's Cable. Remember it.